Hello, welcome back. Now, what I'm going to show you here is that I am going to actually use these Pantheon paints from Christy Taylor. She unfortunately is no longer with us. She was taken from us very suddenly, but I actually got this sample pack of 1 ounce of her Pantheon paints, and it's actually quite a bit of paint. It was pretty cool, and they are beautiful. They go on so smooth. The finish is beautiful. It's got that chalky matte finish. And so you can actually use these to prep your cup before you do your glitter instead of using spray paint. I do it all the time, so do not worry. But I actually did a video of a beach tumbler when I first started out my YouTube channel, and it is like an hour long and it's 2 parts. It's ridiculous. So I wanted to recreate this. And if you wanted to see how I spray paint that, I will link the video down below and you can watch that first part of the video to watch how I spray paint it. But the paints here that I'm using can be used for that very same purpose without any problems whatsoever. And actually, the epoxy went on pretty smoothly with this, way better than with with spray paints. So I actually was very impressed. Now I'm using a darker brown here than I probably would want to, but I actually do. In the beginning, it was darker than I had wanted, but in the end, it actually, I think, added a little bit to the sand color that we use. So I actually use this lighter blue and then I go into a darker blue. I'm actually going to be using 3 different colors, but that's why I put the white there, because that is going to kind of give us a little bit of dimension towards the foam, kind of the lighter part of the water into the beach part, and then vice versa going up. So this is how I would normally do it even if I was spray painting. I do like a dark blue and then a lighter blue in the middle and then the white and then a goldish color for the sand. Now here I'm just going into a second coat. I did have to put a second coat, but I tell you what, I put this in front of my fan that I have in my room here, and it was dry very quickly. I mean, probably 15-20 minutes later. I don't know, I went and did a couple of other things. I came back and turned it once, and then I did a couple of things on my computer, and then boom, it was dry, like really dry, matte finish, chalk finish, I guess I should say, which is technically a matte finish. But and it actually, the epoxy went on so smooth, it was crazy. So I actually was very, very pleased, and the paints were really nice too. I wanted to show y'all my new wall in my new craft room that I actually set up my little glitter ranch shop, and I just love it. And I was pulling out the colors here that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using Gulf of Mexico, and she doesn't actually have a fine for the Gulf of Mexico, but the Casey is similar, so I'm using the fine for Casey to use with the Gulf of Mexico. There I use Mermaid, and then I got Glass Slipper, and we're going to be using Glass Slipper to make kind of like a foam sparkly look. And here I was finding my Cottage. This is a light blue that I'm going to use for the water. Now this March color is a custom mix that she made, and that is actually going to be used for the water too. And Galveston there is actually a custom mix that I designed because I wanted to have a specific look for my sand, and so I designed it with using about 3 different other colors. So I'm excited. Midnight there is going to be for Mermaid, and Casey's going to be used for Baby Gulf, and Cottage is going to be used for March. And then the Glass Slipper, like I said, is going to be the foam, and there's my pretty Galveston custom mix. So here we're going to go into our glittering. Now, like I said, this is Galveston here. I wanted to call it Galveston Beach, but she said that was too long for the sticker, so I'm going to call it Galveston Beach because I'm here in Houston, if you couldn't tell by my accent that I'm Texan, but but that is my, it's a mix of bubbly and vacay and cheetah, and yeah, so I'm excited. And giraffe, I think, is in there, so it kind of gives just that dimension of sand. I wanted that look of like kind of natural, but also, of course, sparkly. So we go into using this, and then right after this, using the sand color, I'm going to go into the glass slipper. Now, what I like to do for the glass slipper, that it is an iridescent kind of see-through kind of color, and so I want to use that at the very edge of where the beach and the water meet, because I want it to kind of have those reflections of like where the water is reflecting the sun and that kind of thing. Now here, like I said, I'm using March, and that is a tealy kind of blue mix that she designed herself. Now I'm putting that on top of the white because I want that to have a lighter color going. I want it all to kind of fade together, right? So I use the chunkier mixes where the water is, right? So I use the chunky mix to kind of place the water. And then later we're going to go through with those fine colors to blend each one of them in. So here I'm using Cottage, right? And I am going to now tilt the cup down. So I'm filling in the spots. Now I'm tilting the cup. I'm tilting the cup up and I'm tilting the cup down because I want it to fall into those other colors. And that's how we're going to blend these colors in. That's why I'm using those fine colors with those chunky glitters. Now this is Gulf of Mexico. Now it is an absolutely gorgeous tealy green color shift color. I wish that my part of the Gulf of Mexico down here in Houston was this gorgeous, but I have been to Florida and it is absolutely gorgeous there. And so this color really does, just regardless of whatever beach you're at, whatever ocean you're at, it does have that depth of like a lighter color to those darker colors that indicate you're going deep down into the ocean, right? So that's kind of the idea here, right? So here, like I said, I was going in with Casey. I'm using that, and I'm filling in all of those little spots. And now I am going to tilt the cup. I'm tilting it up and down, just to kind of get some blending. See, now here's where I tilt it. So I tilt it, and I'm blending. I'm just kind of putting some up into that darker blue, right? And then I'm going to take it and do it going down as well. See, now this is how you make sure that you're getting all of your colors to mix into each one. That's going to give you that seamless look throughout your water. Now this is Mermaid, and I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, it's green. But there, it actually shifts so awesomely into a dark blue that it really does blend really well. And I used to use like a blue and green kind of glittery, like a chunky kind of glitter for my old beach tumbler, but this one I just loved that it had the color shift, and I thought that would add much more dimension. Now I end up covering this with Midnight, right? Because I want to fill it in as a dark color because I want to get that idea or that image of the deep dark ocean that's so far away, right? When you're looking at the beach. So that's my inspiration. So here I'm tilting the cup again, like I said. Now, we are going to put some dark alcohol inks on top of this, but you will be able to see some of it. So that's why I love the green. And if you see it in person, honestly, it makes sense. And I hope you do actually end up trying this. If you get the glitters and you do end up trying it, I think you would be extremely impressed to see it sparkling under that epoxy, under that alcohol ink. So here, I'm just admiring it. It's so pretty. You see how that glass slipper there really does kind of add like this white foamy look to it. It really, I don't know. It adds a little something extra there. I'm just rolling it in parchment paper. This is not like that chunky of glitter, but it still just adds a little bit of help because the glass slipper is actually kind of chunky. So here, I just wanted to show you, I'm actually covering this in polyacrylic. This is actually pretty vital because there is a lot of colors and a lot of things going on here, and you do not want any of this going anywhere. But I actually do just go right into, from the dark, I go right into the lighter blue, you know, the next color and the next color. I do clean my brush between the beach, or from the blue, the light blue color, and the beach. I do actually clean it from the darker, but the two darkers, I just kind of go right into it and do those. I don't mind if they shift too much together, but I do clean it after that and go into the lighter blue and the beach color. So here's where we get into the fun part. This is when we do alcohol ink. Now I'm showing the alcohol inks. This is going to be the top color. This is a dark, dark blue. And then we use a lake blue, and that's going to be our next blue going down. And then we use a little tiny bit of this turquoise. Do not use very much of this. It will overtake. And then this is a mix that I made. I used a Sharpie, a blue Sharpie, and I put I cut it up and put them in there, and then put some alcohol ink, and I'm almost done. I need to get some more of that. And then this is resin dye. I will put the link down below. I have several colors of that, and then also the acrylic paint. I just use a tiny little medicine cup. I put some I put some epoxy in there, excuse me, and then I mix the white resin dye and the white acrylic paint. Now I do that before I do this part, which is the epoxy part. Now, I put a generous amount. I wouldn't say I just completely float it out, but I do put a liberal amount, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. I mix up about 30 milliliters, but I'm also using I'm using some of that to put into the white mix. But I mix that white mix first, right? And then I put the epoxy on, and I let that sit, because you want it to kind of get a little bit thick. You want it to kind of get a little bit settled in there. That's just my little tip. Now here, I am not doing what I just told you to do, which is mix this before I put the epoxy on, but I was actually going to be doing some pins and a couple of other little things. So I was like, okay, I'll mix this up now. I'll let that spin a little bit, and I will let my paint go. I mean, my white go. But this right here is what I wanted to show you. Because we're mixing up so little of the white, I just kind of scrape the popsicle stick in the top part of the white. I don't try to squirt any in there, because if it comes out and it gets way too thick, or you know what I'm saying, like one big glob comes blopping out, scraping it into the actual bottle actually helps out so much. But after I mix this, I kind of want it to be kind of stringy. So right now it's a little runny for me, so I'm going to let that sit. So here's where the fun starts. Now we are going to start dropping our alcohol ink into this epoxy. Now I just do like one or two, probably 3 or 4 drops going around the side, but I'm actually kind of following it as it turns, so that the alcohol kind of runs with it as it's going, right? So I kind of drop it to the side, or kind of tilt it to the side, so that it drops like that. Now, first I start with that Prussian blue, and see, you can kind of see here how that green kind of sparkles through, and you can actually see it way better in person, but and right now it kind of looks a little bit dark, but I promise it really does read really well underneath there. Now this is the lake blue, and we're kind of mixing that, and I actually kind of blend them at the line there. So like right where the Prussian blue stops, I kind of drop a few drops of that lake blue, maybe, so let's say, I guess, like ombre it. Now this is where we are putting that teal. Now, like I said, that's it. And then see, I dropped some of it in there. And this is why I wear gloves when I do this, because of things like that. Now I know those are vinyl gloves because I usually do that if I'm just like, not having to, I'm not doing the whole cup in epoxy. But if something like that happens, I just wear gloves just to kind of like, oh, let me grab that real quick before it gets really bad. So things like that happen. No worries. Just wear some gloves. But anyways, this is my blue here that I'm mixing. And see how I'm kind of dropping it at that line where that teal is so that we can kind of blend that line. So they kind of maybe come down with each other. Now here's me trying to get the last drops of that blue that I designed and made, trying to get it out. So I'm gonna have to make me a new one. But that's basically, that's kind of what I was talking about. So that teal though, like I said, it can kind of take over. So just use a tiny, tiny bit. It just kind of adds a little bit of a transition and gives you a little bit of that teal color. Now here is where I'm going to drop the white. And now you see it's kind of getting a little bit stringy, and that's what I want. I want it to be stringy. I do focus a lot of it down at the bottom here, right at this edge. Now it looks as though I am putting this in the mix, like into the epoxy, but I am not. And see how I lifted it up there? I want to check and make sure that I'm not pulling any of that blue ink out of the actual epoxy and putting it back into my white. I want that white to stay white. I don't want it to be contaminated with any of that blue. So you want to make sure and check before you start pulling those pieces of white. You will actually pull up some of that ink. That's just a little tip that I can give you. I know it kind of sounds crazy, but it'll happen to you and you'll realize what I'm talking about. And when you do get it, I just keep a little piece of paper or just that little metal thing right there, that little, aluminum thing. I just wipe it on that just to kind of keep it away. Now, this is my trusty blow dryer. I actually bought this from a lady off a marketplace because I wanted a blow dryer. Because I wanted to be able to push those waves. I wanted to push them. I wanted them to look like waves. I wanted to get that movement. And with a heat gun, you don't get the same type of movement. I hit it several times and then I'll stop because it will start really bleeding and really running. And I've dripped some epoxy off before. So I just kind of hit it where I need to. And then I stop and then I'll watch it. And I watch to see where the next place I need to go. Maybe I need to add a little bit more white. Maybe I don't like that it's, you can see a lot of the blue. And I actually do not, I put some waves going up to the top because you do get those waves that are deep into the ocean if it's, a really active day at the beach. But, excuse me, but I try to keep them very thin and small because the waves are not that big going out into the ocean, but they get bigger and bigger and bigger as you come in. So this is my literal take on a beach. And so I don't know. This is how I started doing it. I learned from several different people. I'm not going to take complete credit, but this is the way that I designed it. And this is the way in my mind that it makes sense, right? I do take it off the turner sometimes and I'll just, if I think it needs to go down or if it needs to go up, I'll just turn it, either way. So here I have just been watching it for a little while and I decided that some of the white at the very top had kind of got lost in the ink. So I was just kind of adding a little bit of white in some of the spots that I saw that kind of got a little bit too much color in them. And that's okay. You can do that. Now, this is where I actually found this out. And I was not I did not know it would do this, but I sprinkled this on top just to kind of add a little bit more sparkle, right? To kind of make it look like, bubbles were sparkling in the water and off the sun and that kind of thing. And it actually they started falling into the white. I don't know if it's the dye or the epoxy or what, but they started falling into it. And then they actually made it look like that that kind of lacing look that some people get when they do a heat on the epoxy. And it actually looks pretty cool. It actually turned out really awesome. And it worked the first time I did it. I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. And so this was kind of the way I was going to teach this new look. And so you can see it happening. You can see how it's kind of making it look like this foamy look in the ocean. And I just don't know. It's just so cool. The effect is just so cool. And I'm so pleased with it. And that's it. That's basically the way it will look. And every single one of these will be different. There will not, one of them will ever be the same because they can't be. Because every single one of them is handmade and hand done. See that? That is where you get, that's how you get that look from a blow dryer and from that glitter. I don't know. Just super cool. Here, I thought some of the white was like a little bit chunky, so I just kind of wanted to break it up just a little bit. And that's just after you got to watch it for a little while and just kind of check and make sure. And don't touch it too much. Please just walk away and it will turn out way better than you think, I promise. Sorry, I just thought we needed to watch that spin for a minute and listen to some nice music. Anyways, I have sanded the rim, I have sanded the bottom, and I have sanded anywhere around the cup that needed to be sanded. And the next thing we're going to do is put on our decal. I have chosen Life's a Beach because, I don't know, I thought it was kind of appropriate. So like I said, Life's a Beach. I did this in kind of a scripty font because I actually, when I normally do these beach cups, I actually personalize them. I put a name on there. But because I wanted to be able to maybe sell this cup later, or I don't know. I just didn't want to put a name on there. So I decided to use this scripty kind of font to make it look kind of like it was a name. But just to kind of show y'all the idea that this is how I do it. I would just put the name going long ways down there. And I actually used this kind of frosty, kind of sandy colored glitter vinyl that I get at a vinyl store near me. But, and I kind of go all the way down into the beach there. So I don't make it really big, maybe about 6 inches. This is a 30 ounce. But that's kind of what it would look like if, it would have Erica down the middle or something like that. And as always, I do put my logo on the bottom. And here I am going to put my Mod Podge on there to cover up the vinyl. Now, I do not put it all the way to the edge. You want to leave a little bit of that rim that you sanded off to be exposed so that the epoxy has a place to catch hold of. So these shells, I will link below if I can find a couple of places where I have found them before. I will link it below. But these little shells, I don't know, they just add an element of like reality to it or something. It just makes it really look like a beach. I was very pleased with this. I love all of the color shift glitters that we used for from the Glitter Ranch. If you do recreate this, please post your picture in the Glitter Ranch group. That's where we we kind of share this YouTube channel. We share with the group. So I would love to see you over there. I would love to see what you recreate. There's a discount code below where you can buy every single one of these colors on that site. And thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate everybody that follows me, and I hope that you have fun and recreate this and put this in your store. I promise you will sell a ton if you have an Etsy. Anyways, thank you for watching. See you next time.